use Rage Powder to bring your attention back to round 4 here at Salt
Follow
Lake.
me.
Here at the Salt Lake Regional Championships. We've got Bridger Snow versus Anthony Plasencia. So I'm excited for this one because Anthony is a SoCal player, and so I know him pretty well.
Yeah.
I used to try to team build with him. He's running a Pokemon that you did mention today.
Yeah, I can't wait to show everyone that. But first, let's focus on Bridger Snow a little bit. He is a Utah local. He's been playing on the West Coast VGC scene for years now, always pretty consistent. But, you know, bringing that hometown advantage a little bit, always something to keep your eye out on. Going to be a pretty interesting matchup. Is this Anthony's first year of traveling?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I know that he's been doing pretty well at regionals. Always just kind of missing out on Top Cut because of resistance.
Right.
So right
Everyone's
now in a really
favorite.
nice yeah, the resistance game.
Okay. So here we go.
All right, and on your left side, we've got Bridger with that Alolan Ninetales, Nihilego, Tapu Bulu, Incineroar, Gothitelle, and Mawile, and Anthony on your right running Kangaskhan, Tapu Fini, Landorus Theron, Celesteela, Braviary, and Alolan Marowak.
So I believe this is the second Braviary today. I'm definitely on the ball. The matchup is a little interesting. I like Ninetales a lot because I think people are starting to kind of ditch their weather support. And Ninetales in an environment where there isn't any other weather to contest with, Aurora Veil just shines so hard. It's actually kind of funny because Bridger's team, you definitely see a lot of 2017 style inspiration there. The Nihilego, the Tapu Bulu. I mean, Incineroar and Mawile, those are kind of different, but they fill similar roles to a lot of what the previous things did, things like Trick Room. Gothitelle, Mawile, returning. We just saw it last round, but this is an environment in which it has sort of more potential to sort of have Mawile go in more, even though Marowak Celesteela is not super favorable for Mawile too much. I think Kangaskhan actually does look pretty solid. Kangaskhan's quality this meta has been
kind of
called into question.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that parental bond doesn't do as much as it used to.
I mean, it's hard to maintain. Kangaskhan in the 6th generation of games from 2014 to 2016 was hands down incredible, undeniably. Top 8 of 2015 Worlds. Only Kangaskhan was the only. Or not, I think there was Gardevoir, but as a dual mega
it was
function.
probably one of those dominating megas.
Absolutely.
I mean, losing so much of the things like the parental bond, the power up punch, that really hurts it. But Anthony going to be leading with that Braviary Celesteela on that right side of the field as we get from Bridger this Gothitelle and Ninetales. So bringing the hail and the snow here as he traps in Anthony's Pokemon with that Shadow Tag ability.
So
and no intimidates.
Yeah, no intimidates. You don't want to lead your Incineroar into that Braviary. People have even on stream today earlier. We're shown that when you leave Braviary not only untouched but powered up, you're going to pay for that. Blizzard does look kind of nice against the Braviary, but Celesteela, even as far back as last year, was something that didn't really mind Ninetales' presence too much because it had that really good defense that made Blizzard's, especially from Ninetales' relatively weak offense, do not too much damage, while threatening enough with a heavy slam to bring it within focus sash range, assuming it's not light clay, which extends the Aurora Veil turns.
Oh, that's always like a rough kind of gamble to choose, especially between like when you're fishing out for items on game 1. And I feel like this, like the Pokemon on this field are just kind of semi-passive on here, but Gothitelle going for Protect, keeping itself from getting damage on this turn, as Ninetales goes for that Blizzard, like you said, connects with both Pokemon here, gonna do some super effective damage on Braviary, not quite enough to get it into the red, but does get the freeze, which is always going to be really tough, especially as it's your attacker there. And Braviary staying frozen solid on this turn as Celesteela goes for that heavy slam into that Ninetales slot. So no Aurora Veil, but a lot of damage onto that Ninetales. It does reveal that it has that focus sash, so no light clay. So even if Aurora Veil had gone up there, would have not done that much. Braviary get into the red on there. Also, no barrier recovery. Can you? Yeah, because you can eat the berry even when you're frozen.
Yes. I'm very amused by the way the animation plays for Braviary. It was frozen like wings up. It gets hit by hail, frozen in a different position. They don't call him Bridger Snow for nothing. That turn worked out incredibly well for Bridger because that freeze just provided so much. We don't actually know what Braviary was targeting. It's very possible he was going for a Gothitelle slot just to spread out the damage, especially because Heavy Slam will do so much. But he also could have totally just went for the KO on Ninetales, and that would have prevented the Aurora Veil from getting set up right here.
And on this turn now, that Aurora Veil does go up, and it is going to be acting as a reflect and a light screen, so kind of like circumventing that those physical and special attacks. As Heavy Slam once more into that, Ninetales does pick up the knockout here. Braviary staying frozen solid, leaving Gothitelle to go ahead and attack on this turn, or use Trick Room. But Celestial is Beast Boost, getting the attack bonus as opposed to the defense from like 2017. And Gothitelle Trick Rooming on this turn, so our dimensions will be twisted.
Dimensions are twisted. I'm quite shaken up about it. So that was a pretty common situation last year. Ninetales has, as a primary 2017 Pokemon, essentially, you're going to hear a lot of that comparison. Sorry if you're not super down with that. But you
No,
basically trade Ninetales for Aurora Veil, and that's not something you usually mind doing because of the Aurora Veil's just pure defensive positioning allowance. You're allowed so much freedom when you have it, but because of that freeze earlier, you maybe even better than a KO, because you have something that can't do anything instead of getting a new mon in to replace it and be active. So Bridger has a lot of opportunity to set up a position that he really wants, something that you saw with the Trick Room. He could bring in Incineroar because Braviary at this point of the game is basically a null slot, maybe even worse than a null slot.
It's a flying duck.
Yeah.
It goes from a hawk to a duck. Sorry.
I mean, I'm pretty down for, like, the frozen duck here because the freeze animation is just cracking me up. How are his wings changing? Flare Blitz just going right into the Celestial.
Because like you said, that Braviary sitting there not allowing any sort of Pokemon switch in, as that unnecessary critical hit on that Celesteela, it does knock it out, so that Beast Boost kind of like null at this point. Gothitelle going for the Psychic, so picking up a double knockout on Anthony's side. Going to have to bring in both of his Pokemon on here. This poor Braviary, honestly, just kind of like tough, staying there frozen. But we do get to see Anthony's like last couple Pokemon, and I think, I know this might sound a little early, but going into game 2, just making sure that freeze does not get to you at all. Like, that Braviary got
Try
frozen,
crossing your fingers a little harder, please.
And hope that Bridger doesn't live up to his name this time.
Yeah.
So
I mean, in Bridger's defense, not only did he play well and just went with, when you use Blizzard, you get freezes sometimes. It totally happens, but there was no real counterplay to getting up the Aurora Veil. I don't know if I necessarily agree with going for the Blizzard before that, but his position right now looks fantastic. And Ninetales, I think, is going to continue to have that role.
Yeah. And so Kangaskhan and Landorus revealed to be the final two Pokemon on Anthony's side. The Landorus Intimidate into the Gothitelle and Incineroar. Unfortunately, this Landorus is going to be in a spot where if an Intimidate cycle happens on Bridger's side, he's going to be in a little bit of trouble. So Kangaskhan Mega Evolving on this turn, getting that Parental Bond ability, sacrificing either Scrappy or Inner Focus on there. And Incineroar actually going to be using Knockoff. Again, we're still in Trick Room and going to be revealing the item on Landorus as a Choice Scarf. Gothitelle being the Heal Pulse variant here, going to heal up that Incineroar right next to it. Going to bring it back all the way up to full health. And Kangaskhan going for that double edge, just going for that damage into that Incineroar slot. Is not quite enough to get to halfway until that Parental Bond gets there. And now we've got Landorus going for Earth Power, actually into that Incineroar spot as well, is enough to pick up that knockout after being doubled up on.
This position is a little scary. Aurora Veil's still in play. Trick Room's still in play. But you see that there's a recognition here. Recognition? He's recognizing the fact that Gothitelle isn't going to do too much on its own. So he's committed to this plan of, well, if I just keep attacking the partner, and Nihilego something not typically too fast, especially when you knock off Landorus Choice Scarf. You create a position where if you just single down Bridger to Gothitelle, you can take the game that way. Which sort of is a good plan to circumvent the Aurora Veil a little bit. It's a lot less effective in practice when you just double tap things.
Oh, because Protect is always like one of those fears there. But this Nihilego being the last Pokemon here, as Gothitelle goes for Psychic, being the fastest in the Trick Room mode, into that Landorus slot, gets it down into the red, gets a special defense drop, though, as Nihilego goes for the Power Gem, going to be doubling up into that slot, picks up the knockout on here, leaving this Kangaskhan to go against these two Pokemon here, and Nihilego's Beast Boost is going to be into that special attack. Makes it a scary Pokemon, as the Kangaskhan goes for Double Edge, going to be going into that Nihilego spot, and gets the Parental Bond, but that just does no damage at all, and you get recoil damage as well.
I mean, the rock typing helps there a lot. Nihilego, not a Pokemon traditionally known for its physical defense. In the past, we've seen that it took a combination of Intimidate and Grassy Seed to make Neolego a long-standing threat. But because we're in a Trick Room mode where you have Aurora Veil, you have a lot more ways to sort of circumvent that usual problem. The double tap here should clean it up, and I really want him to focus more on the next game.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because obviously Anthony losing that Braviary to that freeze is just kind of something tough. And Bridger capitalized that on that so well, not letting Anthony have the opportunity to get any new Pokemon in by just ignoring it and being like, let's go after other things and set up my team first before I go after this.
And I mean, the position was free to do so because not only, there was like an insult to injury kind of thing with like the Flare Blitz crit that didn't matter. But one of the really damaging parts about that freeze is you couldn't switch to sort of try and get around it. You were forced to stay there. The odds on thawing, I'm not going to say unthawing, are not the greatest. I believe they're around 10 to 12%. So it's hard. I think it's actually very difficult in this position to deal with Ninetales in a proactive way because you don't have anything fast enough to be able to prevent it from using Aurora Veil.
I will say, though, I think, for Anthony, at least he's able to keep the information about Braviary to himself. Like, it didn't do anything, which means now for Bridger, it's a little bit of a wild card, Like, you can guess what it might be doing. And you can kind of guess, like, the speed tier because you can tell when it was thawed still. Or, sorry, it was frozen solid still. But you don't really know what type of attack it's bringing to this field. So I think Anthony can kind of really try to capitalize on that for this next match.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's not like certain Marowaks we've seen in the past where they've gone for the Brick Break just for situations like this. It would have been awesome to see the return of Brick Break Alolan Marowak, but I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. The plan here on Anthony's side has to be, how do I roll with Aurora Veil being in play? Because there's no way to prevent it, really. The only thing, you can try to get like Landorus in a position to KO, but because of the combination of Focus Sash and Ninetales using Protect, there's no fake out play or anything you're going to be able to make to damage that thing.
Yeah, and that's definitely something he's going to think about, and hopefully he did that as he was locking into his Pokemon for this next match. Once again, Anthony Plasencia versus Bridger Snow, and if we see that Braviary again, I'm going to be like, okay, cross my fingers, because that was kind of rough. But Ninetales and Nihilego on the field this time instead of that Gothitelle from Game 1. But we will be getting the Hail once more onto the field as Kangaskhan and Braviary this time. So switching out that Celesteela for that Kangaskhan, wanting, that damage, I think, from the beginning here. And the Snow Running, again, bringing in that Hail, allowing it to get that Aurora Veil as soon as it wants.
The fake out pressure is nice, but I think this just forces in. There's not really a lot of punish necessarily for double protecting, though I will say that the potential Tailwind does create a two-turn scenario where you press fake out in the Ninetale slot. Even if it protects, you stop the Aurora Veil, the Tailwind goes. Now you're fast enough that you can hammer out that Ninetales. The problem here is I don't know if Braviary is actually in a position to be able to take attacks from Nihilego. You don't want a free Power Gem KO, powering up Nihilego really fast, especially since we know that unless he just does, he probably doesn't have low kick because he would have used it last game, but Double Edge did nothing to Nihilego, and even if you consider Aurora Veil, it's not going to be enough damage.
And so Anthony starting off this turn by Mega Evolving that Kangaskhan, once again getting that Parental Bond, allowing him to get those 2 hits onto any Pokemon that he's going to be attacking. And we will be getting this Kangaskhan using Fake Out, no Protect from Ninetales, but it goes into the Nihilego instead. And, oh my gosh, Ninetales does go for the Aurora Veil on this turn, so Anthony kind of just letting that happen on here, making sure that those physical and all those attacks are just not going to be doing as much. But Tailwind on this turn, and Nihilego is going to be going for an attack. Probably a Power Gem into that Braviary, most likely.
I mean, I think that was an interesting choice. To me, that kind of confirms the idea that Braviary can't take a Power Gem from the Nihilego, or it's something he just didn't want to risk. But he's sort of accepted that the alternative to that is I will let him set up the Aurora Veil. So now you're in a situation where it's kind of hard, once again, to thread that Nihilego because, I mean, from these two, you have Double Edge and you have, flying attacks. You have other normal attacks in Braviary. You would need something maybe, because the Aurora Veil offsets it a little bit. Maybe if that's like Fightinium Z Braviary, you can break through the Nihilego and try to pressure that Ninetales. But this turn in particular is very important because you have to see the momentum he can make from the Tailwind.
And so Braviary protecting on this turn. I think the only damage it took was from that hail damage. But low kick on Kangaskhan being revealed into that Nihilego spot does almost literally no damage on that.
It's basically a floating cloth.
Yeah, and once more that Ninetales using Blizzard on this turn. Going to be connected only with that Kangaskhan because Braviary protected. No freeze, but Nihilego using Trick Room on this turn. I'm not actually quite sure what it had done the turn before, but now we've
It got faked out last turn.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that was very solid, and that was something I definitely worried about, though personally I thought, and very possible Anthony thought this as well, that, well, Gothitail's the primary Trick Room setter here. I think Nihilego is probably more offensive set, and you could argue that the third or fourth slot not being there's Power Jump, Sludge Bomb, Protect. It's very easy to fit Trick Room on there, so something to consider, but now you have a situation where Ninetales is the second fastest thing in Trick Room.
Yeah, and Anthony a little bit scared of that as he withdraws his Braviary and sends out that Celesteela, which is a little bit more comfortable in this Trick Room setting. Not being exactly the fastest Pokemon here, but Nihilego going for that Sludge Bomb into that Kangaskhan slot does get it down into that red as Blizzard connects onto both Pokemon on here. Is going to pick up the knockout on that Kangaskhan, but that Braviary got out of that fire, and that Celesteela takes it just a little bit nicer than that Braviary does.
It's a little rough, but you see the whittling down of Anthony's resources as time's gone on. The Tailwind has just been completely turned on its head. Braviary did get out in favor of Kangaskhan, but I have to wonder about that. To me, it felt like Kangaskhan was a more valuable resource, especially because you're waiting for Intimidate to come in and activate Braviary as a threat, and we haven't seen that actually happen yet. Celesteela does look very good, but and you do kind of force the situation where, well, if you don't stop my Celesteela with your Incineroar, I'm going to get everything. But if you do, well, I have Braviary. And part of me feels like you should kind of just bite into it, but it's a matter of positioning. I don't know if Blizzard, and I don't believe Blizzard actually picks up the KO from this point. You could just go for Protect, make sure your Tailwind is over, and then you'll make it so that Ninetales is actually the slowest thing in there once again.
All right, and so Braviary does, go for that Protect and not going to take any damage from that Blizzard. I'm not sure. It didn't knock out last turn, but Nihilego goes into Braviary with that Power Gem as Celesteela goes for the Heavy Slam into that Nihilego spot and is almost, it is enough to pick up the knockout on there. Going to get that attack beast boost that we saw from that other round, from that first match. And Ninetales probably going to go for that Blizzard once more, probably wanting to get the damage into that Braviary slot.
I mean, it's not like you could have. If you could stack Aurora Veils, people would do that all the time. But that's just not the case. But for me, I think that the position is a little better because you do kind of force Incineroar back, but it's not quite. Yeah, you enforce Incineroar out, but you power up Braviary in the process. I think the Focus Sash on Ninetales is going to make this matter a lot because he can still take the Heavy Slam, especially when you consider that Fake Out is an option. Part of me kind of would have liked to see Celesteela break the Sash last turn, keep Nihilego out, and then try and clean up from there.
Yeah, I think that's probably something Anthony's thinking about now, like, this might have been a better option on there. But I think maybe he was afraid of, that Nihilego's Power Gem going to that Braviary because that's a pretty much easy knockout.
You could Protect, you hit with Celesteela, break Sash, Tailwind runs out, so now Celesteela is free to attack Nihilego as Braviary is free to attack Ninetales. I mean, it's obviously not that simple, but it's just something to consider.
And Incineroar going for Flare Blitz into the Braviary slot, going to get it into that yellow on here as Celesteela goes for the Heavy Slam, is going to be breaking that Sash now on Ninetales, gets it down to that 1 HP. And I think Braviary is going to be going next on here. On here. It's going for that Supersonic Sky Strike. Yeah. And going into that Incineroar would probably be the best option at this point.
Oh, absolutely. I have no doubt that's where he went. You don't want to burn that Z move onto the Ninetales slot you already targeted. And, forcing him into that situation isn't terrible. You probably will see a situation in which Bridger could theoretically Aurora Veil again, but because the game is on its blast pace, because Ninetale only has one bit of HP and there's only one supporting Pokemon, you might just go for the Blizzards in the upcoming turns. Like this one.
And then it sort of did get knocked out by Supersonic Sky Strike as that Blizzard almost but not quite gets rid of Celesteela, into the red, leaving it here as the hill ends. And Aurora Veil also expires here, leaving this 2v2 and two Pokemon on each side down in the red as we have Gothitelle once more from Bridger hitting the field here. And Anthony, I think he had Landorus. Yes. So that Landorus, which we know had that choice scarf. And I think Trick Room is done as well.
Oh, I thought I had one turn
okay,
left. Okay,
one more turn left then.
Well, one of the nice things about that is that Anthony is in this sort of sandwich position where Landorus is the fastest thing, but the third fastest thing, which creates that situation of sandwich, because, you know, bread, meat, bread, is the Celesteela. Yeah, Trick Room does have one turn left. So I do like the idea of just, like, attacking Ninetales here with Celesteela, create that safe space for Landorus, and then Gothitelle, not something you really care about. The Psychics aren't going to be enough to really dent out that Steel type, but if you were worried of Ninetales protecting, you always have that Leech Seed option, which I think seals the game.
Yeah, I'd like it. That nice recovery on there. And there you are. So, but Gothitelle avoiding the attack is going to be a little bit rough as the Landorus goes for the U-turn into the Ninetales slot, and Gothitelle Trick Rooming.
Wait, I did see the box that said Trick Room had one turn. Oh, yeah,
yes.
It said return to normal. Okay. Things are twisting into control.
All right.
Yeah, so, I mean, on this turn, bar a double protect, you're going to see Ninetales get KO'd here. And then Celesteela should be able to go for a Leech Seed. Granted, it doesn't miss. That should be the end of the game. Because even if Gothitelle somehow removed that Landorus through, a barrage of Psychics, no double protect.
Yeah, no double protect on there. And so Landorus using U-turn onto that Ninetale is going to take it out with that 1 HP left on it. And going to be this Gothitelle versus the Celesteela and this Landorus. Celesteela going for the Leech Seed once more. It does finally connect onto that Gothitelle, so we'll be recovering HP every turn from this. As Gothitelle goes for the Trick Room, going to make sure that that it has a little, like you said, it's actually kind of stuck in that sandwich now because it's going to be like that second Pokemon regardless. And Celesteela gaining back that HP.
I mean, yeah, Anthony made a very good fox sandwich there. It was quite tasty. There was really no counter to the Leech Seed topping that he threw on that sandwich. You have to have the greens on there as well. You can't just have meat and carbs. It's just not right.
Gives you a healthy Celesteela.
Yeah, exactly. Give you a healthy Celesteela, good strong bones. The match forfeited. You really saw a situation that we kind of speculated on in the first game where just attack everything else except for Gothitelle. Even if that wasn't exactly the case in Game 2 because it didn't come out till so late, you see that Gothitelle is far better in a supportive role. And then once you kind of remove things that it supports, you don't have a win con anymore. So I really like the use of Celesteela there. And not only that, but even if the Tailwind turns didn't quite work out in the beginning, it allowed him enough time to force Bridger to position or to have to readjust to the Tailwind, which made his Aurora Veil kind of run out naturally.
I mean, I really like, too, the fact that, like, Anthony kind of just, saw that Incineroar as a threat and kind of went after it.
Mm-hmm.
I think having the Gothitelle in the back, especially when, you know, your Incineroar and your Nihilego are kind of technically your heavy attackers here, was kind of an interesting choice on there because Gothitelle, I think, on its own, doesn't really have that much firepower to kind of go after some of the Pokemon on Anthony's team. I think we might see that same lead from Game 1 on Bridger's side again because having that Shadow Tag option was really helpful, I think. And I know that we talked about that Kangaskhan kind of going down super early, but it worked out in the end having that Supersonic Sky Strike available for him to kind of bring back in.
I mean, for me, the primary win condition here is absolutely Celesteela. I don't think there's any as polarizing force on either of these two teams as that. Even the Aurora Veil is more of something, it's more like a presence. It's not like the condition itself. So it's really up to Bridger to adjust. And there's some problems there because I think you'll probably see both players bring very similar Pokemon, if not the exact same ones. You don't want Mawile against a team with Braviary necessarily, especially when it doesn't do enough to Celesteela. Bulu has the same problem, just not nearly enough to Celesteela. Forcing Bridger to kind of go Ninetales, Nihilego, and Incineroar. Wouldn't necessarily blame him for dropping Goth, but the Shadow Tag does have a lot of potential to seal things up.
Really
yeah,
nice.
Heal Pulse, we haven't seen it used quite to its full effect. It healed Incineroar when it was already at like 80, and then Incineroar went down that turn anyway. But it's definitely a tool that can prove helpful. I think the usage of Gothitelle is going to end up being important because I very little doubt that it won't return. I expect basically the same four. And he really just has to adapt in terms of gameplay and dealing with Celesteela.
Ooh, but Anthony's switching it up a little, bringing that Tapu Fini and Celesteela combination as Ninetales and Nihilego, a mirror of Game 2 on Bridger's side. So now the question is that Celesteela then going to be that Misty Seed variant that we've been
I
seeing
don't think we saw leftovers in the previous games, which really speaks to how good Celesteela is on its own. It didn't even need its own item to win in the last game. It was just like, I'm
going to heal
here.
myself from your energy.
Misty Seed boost. I mean, that's going to go a long way here. We're looking at two special attackers. It's the primary answer to it has been Incineroar, and you have Tapu Fini right there, which is probably the best Incineroar answer in the format.
And I think that change kind of comes from the fact that, Anthony's thinking, hey, he doesn't want to bring Tapu Bulu against me because of the stuff I have here, so let's bring in Tapu Fini, because why not? But, is Freeze Dry going to the Tapu Fini spot?
That's a double
super effective
tap,
damage.
boys.
And Sludge Bomb into that Tapu Fini slot as well. Going to be enough to pick up that knockout on here. So really good. That is a nice move for Bridger to have on that Ninetales. Nihilego getting that special attack Beast Boost, raising its special attack by one stage. As Celesteela goes once more for that Heavy Slam into the Nihilego's spot. Going to do a lot of damage.
Oh, I mean,
my gosh.
No.
Does activate a berry on there. Oh, I thought that was going to, knock that out.
That was a very good turn for Bridger. I mean, the very clean double tap, picking up the Tapu Fini KO. Your Incineroar is looking a lot better when it doesn't have that Tapu Fini around. And then you just saw that Nihilego, which you assumed would be the trade-off there, was definitely trained to be able to take that Heavy Slam, recover right up with that Wiki Berry. Now you still have a position in which Ninetales can Aurora Veil, but now Anthony only has 3 Pokemon. So it's going to be a lot harder to maneuver around that Aurora Veil.
Yeah, and Kangaskhan going to hit the field, so we will see a Mega Evolution probably on this turn. Still has Fake Out pressure on there, so could try to stop that Aurora Veil from going up on that turn. That Freeze Dry was kind of like a surprise, I think.
I think it was a little difficult because, I mean, in retrospect, it's easy to be like, you would have switched. And my gut instinct was to switch out Tapu Fini. The problem is, I don't know if he actually has a really good switch into that combination of attacks.
It's going to hurt no matter what Pokemon you put in that slot. So Mega Kangaskhan once more on the field as Ninetales goes for a Protect. So not going to take damage on this turn. And Nihilego also using Protect. So going to be just kind of seeing, one, getting rid of that Fake Out pressure, and two, kind of seeing what Anthony's going to go for. So the Fake Out from Kangaskhan goes into protected Ninetales as Celesteela goes once more for that Heavy Slam into the Ninetales as well.
I mean, Celesteela's a bit longing for the days in which it normally carried Substitute. A sub there would have been excellent for the positioning. Celesteela doesn't quite have that little pressure tool so much anymore. And the double Protect there made perfect sense because if you only go for a single Protect, you risk that double tap on yourself, creating a pretty even 3-3 situation. That was a very there was no real way to punish that at all. Maybe a Sucker Punch in the Nihilego slot could do it, but Nihilego has just been so consistently taking these Kangaskhan attacks. It's almost ridiculous to see that this Pokemon, which was a physical offensive powerhouse in the past, is not doing enough damage to this something that's a piece of paper on the physical spectrum.
All right, and Braviary being switched out for that Kangaskhan being switched out for that Braviary as Incineroar gets switched into that Nihilego spot. So going to be activating that Defiant, going to be raising that attack on Braviary. That was a nice switch in right there. So Braviary going to have a little bit more attack power on here, getting that. And then Celesteela, attack drop, not as important right now. Does have that Beast Boost that we know for that attack. As Ninetales uses Aurora Veil, going to be getting that stronger against that physical and special attack. And Celesteela once more going for that Heavy Slam into Incineroar, does literally no damage on that.
Yeah, I think that was unfortunate. I mean, the Braviary call was initially very good, but following that up with I guess he expected the Ninetales to switch out, but for me that's a lot less reasonable because he had yet to press Aurora Veil. So now the Braviary switch did look very good, but now you're in a position where it doesn't really matter too much because I still have Focus Sash intact, and I still have an Ice move that scares you a lot.
All right, and so Celesteela actually was wrong, so going to lose that boost it actually got from that Misty Seed as Kangaskhan hits the field, and we will be getting that Fake Out pressure possibly from that Kangaskhan. As Braviary goes for Protect, not going to take any sort of Blizzard from this Ninetales now that Aurora Veil is up, but Incineroar going for a Fake Out into that Braviary slot as Ninetales does use Blizzard, connects only with this Kangaskhan that has just recently switched in.
I mean, free damage is free damage, even if that only did like 25%. Take it any day on a Kangaskhan. I do like the positioning around from Anthony to create pressure. You're seeing something similar to the previous game where, thanks to Fake Out, I now have a pretty safe way to set up Tailwind. And once I have Tailwind up, I'm in a fairly safe position for actual offensive pressure. The Supersonic Sky Strike from Braviary is at +1 this time. Kangaskhan not feeling intimidates because Incineroar was not out at the correct time. So he has this opportunity to really reverse the tide here because I think so far it's really been in Bridger's favor.
And then Sonora going to be switched out on Bridger's side for that Nihilego once more. And so, at 89 health here, not going to be able to take too much damage, I think, from any Pokemon at this point. And Kangaskhan going for the fake out into that Ninetales slot. So going to flinch at this turn. And Braviary going to be going for Tailwind. Yeah. So good turn for Anthony here, I think.
The scary situation here, unlike the previous game, I don't know that Anthony can recover if the Trick Room gets up successfully, but we have seen... Oh, and it's also just a little nice that Nihilego didn't have to take hail damage that turn. I don't know if Kangaskhan has the power, especially with a possible Incineroar switch, to be able to KO that Nihilego, but you might have to burn Supersonic Side Strike into the Nihilego. But at the same time, protect, switch into the Incineroar, risk the Braviary. It's a safe Trick Room.
All right, well, that first part is coming true as that Protect does happen, but no switch out. Kangaskhan goes for the double edge into the Ninetales slot, is enough to pick up that knockout with thanks to that Parental Bond, getting rid of that last 3 HP. And Braviary is going to have an interesting choice of what it's going to do. It's going to go into this Protect if it decides to burn that Supersonic Sky Strike. Behind that Protect,
I like that a lot,
I think
honestly.
at +1, even behind the Protect.
It should, I mean, the Aurora Veil is there too, and you have the not very effective damage, but I like that more as just a chipping tool. Because even if, Incineroar in my mind is undoubtedly coming out because you want to create a situation where you can try to fake out Trick Room and just win from right there. You've created the possibility, that really did nothing. But you at least create opportunity where you come in and you go, well, now I can at least try to KO Nihilego before he gets that Trick Room up. Incineroar is going to make that a little difficult, especially because the easy fake-out target here is that Braviary. But if Kangaskhan can kind of get motivated, feel the rush of the young days, the old nostalgia kick in from 2015, it might be able to take out the Nihilego. But based on a much more logical perspective with math involved, I think that Trick Room is going to get up pretty safely here. I wouldn't mind the position to go into Celesteela and try to be against Nihilego from there, but Incineroar is looking very good here. Losing Tapu Fini so early on is really showing you why it was so annoying, because you're in this position where Incineroar keeps looking fantastic. He doesn't care that Braviary is getting stronger. The Z move is gone.
I know, that is a really tough position on there, especially like right here, this fake out going into that Braviary slot. I'm going to make sure that it doesn't move this turn. As low kick goes into Nihilego, does not get it close to being knocked out. And Nihilego going to go for that Trick Room here. And, Anthony is in a really, really tight spot now.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. I don't know. But even with Sucker Punch on the Nihilego, if that picked it up, Incineroar should get a free attack on the Braviary. It's very difficult. There needs to be some very solid protect plays. You absolutely have to just focus on surviving these next 5 turns, which is already so difficult because he was trying to survive the first 5 turns with Aurora Veil. But what you need, the speed control here is overwhelming, and if you can get out of that, you might have a chance.
That's going to be a little tough, I think.
Yes.
And
I don't know if it's possible.
And it's a little bit of a pickle. I mean, there's always a way, I think. And then Incineroar going to be actually switched out for that Gothitelle. So trapping both Pokemon on Anthony's side. Any sort of Celesteela, that Celesteela's going to have to wait in the back. But protect from Braviary, not going to take an attack either from that Nihilego or from that Incineroar. As Nihilego goes for the power gem into that protected slot. Kangaskhan going to be using double edge, hopefully into that Nihilego spot to pick up the knockout, but does go into the Gothitelle.
That did a lot.
Yeah, getting to half in that recoil damage. Going to get Kangaskhan not quite into the red.
I mean, the rock typing on Nihilego is really showing, and just how light it is. Gothitelle took huge damage there, and Kangaskhan has been intimidated. It's just Nihilego's type advantage really creates a situation where that doesn't matter. Now, Tailwind running out could create an interesting dynamic where Braviary has the potential to underspeed Nihilego, but I don't think that'll be the case. I think you will have to see Sucker Punch, and just the fact that we haven't seen it yet makes me wonder if it's even there. Some people go for fake out, 2 attacks, protect.
Oh, and double protect actually failing here as Gothitelle goes for that heal pulse. So all the damage that Nihilego took is going to be recovered right here. Gets it back into the green. And Power Gem from Nihilego going to be connecting into that Braviary because it failed to do that protect. And it will be knocked out on this turn. Giving Nihilego another special attack Beast Boost here. I'm pretty sure this is the +2 now.
Yeah,
that Nihilego's been here for a very long time. And Kangaskhan going for the double edge into that Nihilego spot. Just not that much damage. That heal pulse paid a lot of dividends right now for Bridger.
Yeah, heal pulse is looking very cool. finally the optimal situation we saw. And even that would have been no Sucker Punch really ended up hurting, and I just have to assume he doesn't have it. Celesteela, it's basically Celesteela versus the world at that point. It's even a Psychic from Gothitelle should be able to pick up the KO on this thing. I wouldn't be surprised at all by some Incineroar positioning just to be a bit safer, get that Fake Out. You want that Intimidate. You don't want to just like lose Nihilego, keep Gothitelle out, and then try and create a situation where you can just pressure against Incineroar by itself.
Yeah, and Bridger's definitely agreeing with you as he switches out that Nihilego for that Incineroar. So, does lose the Beast Boost, but again, versus these two Pokemon, and now this Kangaskhan, which is going to be at -1, and the Celesteela, which is also going to be at -1 attack. Gothitelle going for the Psychic into that Kangaskhan slot, easily picking up that knockout.
Yeah.
Like you said, leaving the Celesteela versus now the rest of this team, and Heavy Slam from Celesteela going to be going whatever slot it goes into. Not going to be doing super that much damage. Then Incineroar takes it so nicely. That wrestler kind of archetype for it, given a lot of weight.
Machismo. Yeah, I mean, that entire game was really in Bridger's control, and he played it very well. He just forfeits, doesn't even try to create the Celesteela classic 1v3, as the Incineroar just made it almost impossible, especially with a combination of Heal, Pulse, and Fake Out. But well played to both. I think one of the things you'll see there that really turned the scales, not only in both games, Bridger won. The first turn, I'd say, was the most important. You got the early freeze game one, which just created almost no way for Anthony to rally back. And in the third game, you had that very good double tap on top of Fini, creating a situation where Incineroar's best counter is now just gone.
Yeah. Well, and I think that kind of just shows you how much thought Bridger has put into that team, because I mean, obviously, Anthony was like, hey, he's not going to bring this Tapu Bulu, so let me bring this Tapu Fini, which I know can handle that Incineroar. And Bridger being like, yeah, hey, I understand Tapu Fini is a problem for my Pokemon, so here's this Freeze Dry, and here's that double tap. What are you going to do now? And that's kind of a hard thing to recover from mentally, especially if, the crux of your game plan is going to be that Tapu Fini. And Anthony did his best. And, especially because he managed to get that game 2 back after that freeze in game 1, which is, mentally is a little bit hard sometimes. But, like you said, good game from both of them.
Yeah.
And we'll be going into round 6
as
soon as
let me correct from earlier. There are not just 2 XOs. I don't know why I thought that. There should currently be 3 more? 2 or 3, yeah.
So counting is hard sometimes.
Yes, counting is really hard, especially when you play Pokemon, and which has nothing to do with math.
Right.
So, we'll see you guys at round 6. Stay tuned. Don't wait too long. And
see you then.